Hey everybody, welcome back to Visual Novel Book Club. I'm your pal Slowby. With me, of course, my good friend Aaron Ronan.
Good evening.
My good friend Turbo C.
Hello.
My good friend Jim.
Hey everybody.
My good friend Devious Vacuum.
Good morning to all the morning listeners.
My good friend Polahoko.
Good evening to all the evening listeners.
Oren already did good evening. Say good afternoon.
I just like to start up the coffee maker and then listen to my favorite podcast.
Also, I say good evening, but it's actually 11 a.m. over here. So.
Okay, sorry. I thought I'd mix it up a little bit, but here, let's just do it again. Hey,
Oh my god. Nerds.
I'm free to change all of you.
So listen, look, we got a lot to cover, okay? More than your usual, all right? Here's the deal. There's so much to cover. We abandoned this silly idea of like all recording notes for a particular character, actually mostly due to Holiday and MagFest stuff.
And we went back to our tried and true method of Devious Vacuum recording notes for everyone.
Yeah, because I just forgot my notes on the other computer.
Thank you, Diva.
I was planning on just memorizing I was just pretending I knew everything.
Oh, is that a new strategy for you?
Yes, yeah.
I'm not sure how you expected to pay attention when Minorikawa wasn't there.
I didn't for most of it. Autoplay, and actually to finish up all the bad endings, I actually did put a few things on autoplay because there's a lot of repeat stuff, but we'll talk about that.
Oh my gosh, your avatar everywhere is Minorikawa now, on Twitter and on Discord.
That's right.
Amazing.
Well, I mean, as much as I like Gillian Seed putting a gun in someone's mouth, it's kind of a time for a change.
Yes.
I'm a little older, a little wiser.
Time to put away childish things.
Exactly, yeah.
Now it's Minorikawa putting a gun the viewer's throat.
The gun of truth. All right, enough of this crap. What are we doing here?
That's the energy that Slowly is bringing into 2020.
Big Minorikawa energy.
Last time, we unlocked Tateo and Stanley as our two other characters, and so we've got their timelines leading up to the hour where we left off our other three characters, and then we've got the finale and the epilogue. So let's talk about Tateo. So we go back, once we unlock Tateo, we can go back and start with him at 7 o'clock? Yeah.
Yeah, it's when he walks into the hideout. Yeah.
One of those.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in there right after Maria has collapsed from the virus, and Canaan looks at him like, "You're lucky I didn't kill you," earlier on the rooftop, and it starts, and Hitomi is about to, like, they're about to separate into their groups where Canaan and Tateo are going to take Maria to Akoshi Pharmaceuticals to try to break into the lab to get the cure, to try to hack into the lab to get the antiviral. And Hitomi bows to Tateo and asks him to take care of her sister. What a whirlwind of role reversal has happened in such a small amount of time. But they do say, even though this is completely absurd, Tateo does he was gonna apologize, but then he realized there's nothing he could possibly do to make up for what he did.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for trying to commit murder many, many times.
So we good, or?
I'm sorry for being the Joker.
No, he's not the Joker. Leland Palmer is the Joker. This guy, he's like, I don't know. I don't know. He reminds me more of Two-Face. He's more like Two-Face.
He's a confused old man. Confused, sad old man.
Yeah. Tateo is, what a character. I can't believe we play as him, honestly. Like, he's just kind of...
I was genuinely surprised by that. I thought for sure, well, I mean, I guess I'll tell you who I thought the playable characters will be in a bit, but I did not expect Tateo.
I didn't think we needed this level of interiority of the character of Tateo, but it's not. It looks like taking Maria to the hospital or to the pharmaceutical lab is not too urgent to avoid another childhood flashback. And this is when there's a tooltip that reveals that being an accessory to murder means that Tateo will go to jail for 2 years. and he knows, like he knows what's going to happen to him, and
It should also be like attempted murder several times, not just accessory to murder.
yeah, it's not just accessory to murder. So I think he's maybe painting this in a little bit of a positive light compared to what actually happened.
Would it actually be an individual charge for every attempt?
I think so. Don't they say that? Like 3 counts of attempted murder and all that? I'm not a lawyer, but yeah, that seems about right.
So Tateo is snapped out of his like bad attitude by he's inspired to be the man that Kana imagines that he is, because Kana says goodbye to him and he's like saluting, and it's like how in Tateo's mind he saluted back because he didn't have a free hand because he was carrying Maria and also a gun or something, and he didn't salute back, but he did in his heart, and he just wants to be as good of a person as Kana imagined that he was. And I feel like there could have been more to that, but it's kind of like too little too late. Like,
yeah,
this is just so fast for any real character development. It's like, okay, come on, man. This was like 7 hours we saw you being the bad guy.
yeah,
pretty much.
And such a one-note bad guy. He's basically a monster that's chasing them around. Basically, there's not much to him. We don't get that much of an insight into him up until the very end.
I had to kill her. It was a favor. Like, yeah, it doesn't work.
Nemesis is like, sorry guys, I had a bad childhood.
Stars, by the way.
If Nemesis was a literal monster, Tateo's just kind of like I was being a bro. He really needed to murder this guy, but.
Yeah, and like Tateo, like all of his flashbacks are just to being in love with Achi's mom, which is just weird. Like I just like stop. I don't feel bad for you.
No, it's not. It's easy not to feel bad, honestly. Like it's he sucks. I don't know. Like we're just hoping he at least like runs it to the end zone at this point.
It'd be almost as weird as like if Osawa came back and tried to have a redeeming moment.
Yeah, almost as weird as that.
Well, so Tateo, Canaan, and Maria, Tateo's driving in this van, and they get to go outside to get into the van, and Kuze is out there waiting for them with a riot squad, and so you have I think you have a choice that doesn't matter, but basically the more fun choice, although I think it happens either way, is Tateo has like an exchange with Kuze and is like, you have to trust us, or specifically you have to trust Kano, and Kuze responds by pretending to have a heart attack, or he basically is like, oh, it's the virus, and he falls on the ground, and everybody runs around, and they take the van from Endo Electronics and get out of there. And so Kuze believes in him.
Yeah, but if this was real life, this is really irresponsible.
Yes,
you really should get her to a quarantine. And
yeah, it's total action movie at this point. And so they're driving, and there's a police barricade, and you have a choice of like how you're going to get around the barricade, how you're going to deal with it. And I think no matter what part of it is that as they are about to cross the barricade or whatever you choose, conveniently a squad car crashes through the barricade from the other side, which allows them to sneak past. And who is driving that police car?
Hell's yeah, it's Detective Banana.
Detective Banana saves the day.
And
I think someone else saves the day, but
he fucking bites it. Like he like crashes, and it's like he's like very injured. Detective Banana.
Yeah, we never find out what happened to him after that.
Nope. He's just bleeding heavily, and there's like a shattered windshield and his face pressed against it.
I don't think he died. But I do think he had to go to the hospital.
Yeah. He's hurt, but he's down, but not out.
They just gave him a banana and he was fine.
He has too much potassium in him to die.
Yeah.
The airbags didn't even deploy. Also, I would just like to point out, Fucked up, but
Because
true.
he stuffed them full of bananas.
His own fault, really, but you know.
His hubris.
So then there's a call. Tateno gets a call from Stanley about Stanley's conclusion.
Maybe we should go to Stanley right now.
Yeah, let's go to Stanley up until the point where he calls. Does anybody else want to talk about Stanley?
I don't think anyone has notes.
I'm gonna guide. I'm gonna continue to guide. Then I just feel like I'm talking too much.
I can do a little bit. Hold on, I did take some notes. So,
Okay.
so when they cut back to him, like suddenly we get this entirely different Stanley, because the first time I think he's introduced, he talks about how his interaction with Kano reminds him of his brother Frank. And 2 years ago, Alphard was targeting this high-class hotel in Chicago, and Stanley and his CIA team found a bomb, and I guess Frank was part of the Chicago bomb squad.
Yeah.
He wasn't part of the disposal unit. He was like one of those guys who's like just wearing like a jacket and goes out and identify it. And there's this whole scene where so that we get a flashback scene to Stanley there, Jack Stanley with Jack and Frank Stanley, and they're basically talking about how I got to invest. So Frank has to investigate the bomb, so the disposal team will be able to detonate it or just defuse it really quickly. And so he's like, hey Jack, we'll have a beer together after this is all done. And Jack's like, you bet it, brother. And then Jack leaves, and you never actually see what happens, but it's heavily implied that Frank is going to blow up.
Yeah. Well, also, like, usually, too, when you're, like, talking to your brother, like, you don't go, like, we're going to get a beer after this, right? It's like, hell yeah, we are going to get a beer right after this. Right after this mission. Right, brother? Yeah.
We're talking about how I want to give up the force and go move out to a farm and get married and
Leave all this behind.
Oh my god.
So they flash back to the present, and Stanley gets a call from his superior, who's apparently the person who gave the order for Maria to be quarantined. Like that's who's giving Kuze's direction.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. And this is it. This is now Stanley's no longer the guy following the rules. He decides to not tell his superior that he has Maria Osawa in custody. So he's defying orders. And personally, he's talking, and then in his interior monologue, we hear that he wants to save the individual and the larger group of people, which again doesn't make a ton of sense here, because really he should be thinking to save more people. But instead, he doesn't do that. But he does start thinking about how he's going to capture Alphard, and starts to realize that what they're doing is probably playing along with Alphard's plan. So he decides to reconsider.
This is a real... What was the minigame in Danganronpa where you had to drive the car down the road?
Psyche taxi.
Psyche taxi. This is a real psyche taxi moment right here.
Yeah, isn't this the point where he's kind of realizing that all these flaws in the plan had to have been put there intentionally? Because otherwise it was just awful.
When has, like, anyone realized anything in this game that is helpful?
At least finally somebody is thinking about something who can fucking think and use their fucking brain and, like, make a conclusion that, like, actually moves the plot along, instead of being like, the wrong thing? Could that be true?
Almighty. I know, like, Alphard's not even that good at plans, but, like, they're just, like, one very tiny step ahead of everyone else in this world.
I'd say Alphard's plans suck. Like, when you finally learn the full thing, it sucks.
Oh no, Alphard's stand 100% sucks.
But when you're like with Kano looking in his dictums, you're like, well, shit, I'm a criminal mastermind.
Yeah, Alphard's the prototypical one-eyed man in a bunch of blind people. He literally just has a little bit more intellect than everybody else around. Mm-hmm. So basically, he starts talking to Daisuke, and apparently Alphard never told Daisuke that Hitomi had a twin. So obviously, this is a big red warning sign. And so Daisuke kidnapping the wrong girl must have been part of the plan. And then they go to the storeroom, where apparently Alphard had stopped in and told Daisuke that this was Maria, not Hitomi. Must have infected her at that point and left. And shortly afterwards, thieves break in, which again is somehow part of Daisuke's plan. We never find out why, but it just happens faster.
No, this is not actually part of the plan. This is the part
the break-in actually wasn't, I don't think.
Yeah, the break-in was where Alphard's plan went wrong.
Right, but somehow this is one of those things that it's anticipated that it would happen, so just the randomness works anyway.
The original plan was much simpler. You just keep Maria there and then just send her out into the world at the last moment.
Right, because without anybody being able to prepare for it. Okay. So anyway, there's a choice that comes up, and Jack has to decide that Alphard was actually going to release her at some later point to turn Shibuya basically into ground zero for the epidemic.
I think we'll get to it later. But what Alphard's real plan was, but it was simpler than what actually happened.
Right. So anyway, they had caught Maria and stopped that, so it couldn't have been Maria. So it couldn't have been Alphard's ultimate plan because it doesn't work out anyway. So it must be covering something else up. And so what he does is he examines the area that Maria was in. He finds a broken cell phone that Daisuke is going to fix for him, and then he pulls out. There's a hand like a pocketbook there, and he pulls out a photo, and he pulls the photo out and goes, "What the hell?" And that's where we get our first big cliffhanger. I don't know if we want to jump to the other route now.
No, we gotta reveal it to get back to Tateno.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this photo is labeled in the back, me and Canaan, and turns out that everyone they've been calling Canaan isn't Canaan. In fact, what would you almost call that?
Non-canonical.
Thanks, T-Back.
Oh, that's great.
It did fuck with my head, Canaan, but anyway.
Which makes sense because we looked it up and we were like, Canaan is a blonde anime girl. Like, what? Why'd they cast this girl as her? Well, because it's not her.
To be fair, in the anime, Maria also has blonde hair.
Well, yeah, to be fair, it's anime. There's no rules, Like,
we're gonna have to watch this fucking anime. That's gonna have to be like a bonus episode.
I'm so excited for that.
I watched the first episode. They got Maria so wrong.
Oh no!
They gave her like a high-pitched voice. That's really annoying.
Of course they did. I could have called that from a mile away. I can't wait to watch this bad anime.
Minorikawa hates writing.
Wait, what did you say about Minorikawa?
Minorikawa is a major actor in the anime, so you should watch it.
All right, I'm in. Okay.
We have to. We can't not at this point. That's the whole game, is just to make us watch this fucking anime that's not even probably good.
This was a very long con by Oren. Or should I say Alphard?
Or should I say,
Well, it's better than the actual Alphard.
Right. Who is like a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We talked about this. We made a joke. We were like, what if Canaan is Alphard? And we were like, no. Because she's, like, doing all the plot for them. She's the only competent one.
Right.
Because the opposing side that she was relying on was not competent enough, so she needed to actually just do her plan herself.
Right, yeah.
She's also a 14-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot wrong. Although I guess that kind of explains why she doesn't have any good motives for things, right?
Does the anime... I wonder if the anime explains why Alphard is a 14-year-old girl.
I think it does. I think Alphard is like a big part of the anime too. Like, and they explore their histories or something like that.
Oh God.
I just feel like this has to be one of these, like... I don't know, like the real Alphard like died and transferred her consciousness into like a younger clone of herself or something like that. Like there's just so much here that doesn't make sense.
I don't know if that's serious enough for 428 Shibuya Scramble.
I'm at the point I'm not even sure if this anime actually exists.
That would be the best if it didn't actually exist.
Oh, what if it ends like Berserk the anime, where we just don't get any satisfying conclusion to anything, and 428 Shibuya Scramble is all for naught? Or it's part of a manga that's never finished.
Oh my god.
I said manga.
We can only hope.
That would be a great ending to this.
Is Yanagashita in the anime? Or in...
I don't think so. No.
Well, I'm not watching it then.
All right, so we need to make a new anime. Then.
I only watched one episode, but I looked at the the anime encyclopedia page for it, which lists all the characters, and I don't think I've seen him.
I mean, look, we got Minoru Kawa. Let's not get greedy.
So Canaan is Alphard, and Alphard's plan is to destroy Akoshi Pharmaceuticals research facility as well, so that Alphard is the only one with the antiviral. And at that point, and as he figures that out, is when he tells Kano, like, I have to stay behind, and not go with you to the square to meet with Alphard, and then he's going to go to the lab instead. But before that, he has another flashback. It's a flashback of him and his brother. They lost their parents, and it was just the two of them. And it's like Jack telling Frank that he's going to support him going to college to become a bomb squad.
And the best is that, like, the only way they portray themselves younger is they brush their hair forward.
What did you major in? Bombs.
Yeah, he's gonna help support him so he can major in bombs at Chicago University.
Whoa, Chicago U has like the best bomb program. Seriously.
Seriously, what do you say to your kid if they say they want to be a bomb disposal person, specifically?
I feel like you'd know. Way ahead of time. Like that, you'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. By the time that got to that point.
Maybe don't worry about paying back those loans.
I feel like the kid who really wants to be a bomb disposal person, like, that doesn't happen in a vacuum, There's other hints. So yeah, and that happens. So, we're getting these flashbacks of, tearing at our heartstrings about how the parallels between Jack losing his brother and his newfound affection for Kano. And in the present, Stanley calls Tateno while he's driving.
Can you imagine though, like, it's like all that, and then it's like, who reminds me of my brother? This Japanese guy I met today, like an hour or two ago, like just like Frank,
Well, the whole thing is him being
brother.
like, yeah, you're an idiot, just like my brother.
Actually, that is fair.
Really takes me back.
But to be fair, we're all idiots except for Alphard, who's like idiot plus 1 IQ point.
Yeah, the more we learn about Alphard's plan, the more she does not seem like a genius mastermind type force.
No.
God. So then Stanley and Tateno's stories intersect as Stanley calls Tateno and tells him the information that he just figured out that Canaan is Alphard, and he's like, he gives him like a code to respond so that Alphard who's in the van with him can't figure out what he's talking about.
And what a great code it is too. Good Lord.
What was it again? Like,
it's like, that's right and will do.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And but Tateno refuses to go back and pick up Stanley, which, I mean, Kajiwara already sacrificed himself so they could get through the police barrier, so of course he's not going to go back at this point. But so Stanley has to figure out another way to get to the lab separately.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, let's see. So then Stanley calls. So then there's a whole thing where Stanley calls Achi, which is already intersecting with the other characters again. So after Tateno hangs up on the call, he arrives. Him and Alphard and Maria arrive at Akoshi Pharmaceutical. They get to the gate and they press the button on the intercom, but they won't let them in. And suddenly Osawa arrives in his car. It took him a long time to get here, but he's here. And he hits the button and he's like, "Let me in. I'm Kenji Osawa," and they won't let him in. And And then all of a sudden, someone calls the security, and the door opens. They left their mic live, and you can hear a phone call in the background. And apparently that was Makino, and Osawa says that his wife Ai was able to convince her father to let them in to go to the secret lab. And do we want to talk about the alternate version of this a little bit here, or
just the one where they go in on without Tateno coming?
The one where you hadn't figured out that Canaan is Alphard yet, and so they go to the basement of the lab. Like, they're in there, and there's actually like a little scene where Canaan Alphard hacks the password.
Right, yeah, and I honestly don't know if this was just Alphard knowing the password or not, but they go down there, they're hacking the password, and she's got this little computer hooked up to the thing, and apparently it's either 2 or 3 tries before it locks and sets off an alarm. Yeah, 2. And apparently when you input one code in the thing, it uses electricity, and if you put in the right number in that part of the code, it uses a little bit less or more electricity, and that's how she tells.
I hate this game.
She's faking the entire thing, though. She doesn't act where she asks him how many tries she has, and she obviously knows the code already.
Yeah, like I couldn't tell if they were hand waving this or if she was actually just faking it.
So
I'm pretty sure she's faking it.
I know that I, the writer, don't actually know how any of this works, but it's okay because my villain was faking it the whole time. Then why did Stanley agree with her that they were going to use fucking brute force and what the other like very rudimentary sounding techniques?
I don't know.
And we're like 2 out of 3 of them brute force, really. But anyway,
yeah, stupid.
Yeah.
So they get in, and it's Canaan and the rest of them in the lab, and Tateno stays behind the guard, and then there's an explosion in the hallway.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the lab blows up, and that's a bad ending.
Yeah, and you can actually follow up on this in Jack's route too. You don't have to find out that Canaan is Alphard, and he still has some kind of excuse that he wants to go to the lab. I don't remember what. It's a different one, and he goes there and just finds it like on fire.
Yep. And then he's like, "Yeah, it's called complete failure, basically."
But if you do find out.
So if you do find out, then where are we?
Same thing, but you get shot.
Yeah. So, then, where were we? Osawa arrives, lets them in.
So Tateno doesn't let Alphard get into the lab. He tells her.
So, Osawa and Maria go into the lab separately, and then he's like, we're going to be out here, because he basically lets her know that he's on to her. And they end up pointing guns at each other.
And then she tries to keep finding excuses to make a call. So Shibuya can explode.
Yeah. Oh, so we should switch. We should go back to the square now because of that. Because we should talk about how they figure out that the phone causes the bomb to go off. Which I think Stanley figures out, but whatever. Let's talk about, because we left off with Stanley at him calling Achi and trying to tell Achi like that Leland Palmer is not Canaan, or is not Alphard, and all that.
Just finding out that Alphard is Canaan like makes the first explosion. It postpones it, so you don't get the bad ending we got last time.
Right.
So back at the where we left off last time, where there's an explosion. So Kano and
that was when Palmer threw the vials in the air.
Right.
So now the explosion doesn't happen, so they have to catch the vials.
Yeah, all of
somehow
Archie's
they do.
Ruffy and friends are catching the vials.
Yeah, they all catch them, and so Achi and SOS catch all of them, and then Kano runs after Palmer and like tackles him. And,
how do you do that though? How do you catch like glass vials that were thrown in the air?
You just catch them.
Each and every one of them.
Without, like, bumping into each other.
Through years of skillfully picking up trash.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever snatched a piece of litter out of the wind? Exactly.
Look, usually you pick up trash from the ground. This is just the opposite.
It doesn't even matter because when Kano tackles Palmer, he admits that the vials were fake.
Right.
And so then Kano has a very good scene where he sits down with Leland Palmer in next to a car that is leaking gasoline all over the ground, and he handcuffs himself to Leland Palmer, and he takes out a lighter. And he says, "Tell me the fucking password."
We're both gonna burn to death. It's kind of good.
It is good. It's like it's a real action hero sequence. It's like kind of just suddenly becomes like the badass.
It's a Jack Bauer move.
Yeah, it's very Jack Bauer.
I mean, I think. Well, you know what? I like it better because Jack Bauer, I think, would have just handcuffed Leland Palmer to the car, but have been safe himself. You know,
Yeah, he would set him on fire.
Yeah,
slowly
more or
watch them
less.
burn.
Right.
He would have been like, "I'll put out the fire if you tell me what the password is."
Yeah, maybe. And we'll see about that in the next scene. But
Yeah, Kano's very like Michael Keaton Batman. He's like, "You want to get crazy? Let's get crazy."
And I really like that line where like Kano's like looking into his eyes, and the narration is like, "This is a man who has never put his life on the line." And he and Alphard, Leland Palmer, he cracks and gives Kano the password, and then Kano is like, "I gotta tell Stanley the password," but he's already on the phone with Achi across the square, and
it might be a little early too, by the way. But the password is like a password. You know what I mean? Like when you finally find out what the password is. So it's kind of amazing that Palmer told it to him, and then Kano remembered it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like an alphanumeric string, and it's pretty. It's like not long, but it's it's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, it's not like, "Oh, I still love I Makino," which I thought was gonna be.
You figure it's gonna be like one of those movie passwords, like Maria and Hitomi forever or some shit, or their birthdays, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just two letters, U and A.
You think it's gonna be your mom's password, but it's not. It's the password.
It's not.
Anyway.
So then we hit that roadblock that is an explosion happening. That is, we keep hearing in all these explosions. We hear like the Ayakamiki ringtone before all the explosions, and so this is the point where we're blocked off unless Tateno, in his face-off with Alphard, stops her from making a call because she keeps trying to make a call, like Oren was saying, so that she can set off the bomb in Shibuya. Because it's a Ayakamiki ringtone activated bomb.
Of course it is.
Yeah. And this is apparently Hitomi's phone. It's not even Palmer's phone.
What's up?
Right? Yeah, Palmer, the one who's working for her, doesn't even have the ringtone that sets off the bomb.
Yeah, and like Alphard had to check before that Hitomi still has the correct ringtone when they were together.
Yeah, this whole plan goes to shit if she changes the ringtone.
Yeah.
Or her phone runs out
if
of
her
battery.
runs out.
Yeah.
What is it? Perfectly imperfect.
Well, it did have a failsafe. It did also have a timer. So some of the explosion doesn't happen because of the ringtone.
Right.
It's also like, well, why did you even bother with the first part of it? Just have the timer. Whatever. Anyway.
So Kana tells Osawa the password, and the password works. So then Osawa and Maria are down in the lab, and they open it and everything. So they get in there to get the antiviral, and then Kana immediately punches Leland Palmer in the face, and hands him off to Director Kuze, who's there now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kuze also gets a line in where he's like, "By the way, Kano Sasayama has regained consciousness," and Kano's like, "Yay, I did it!" And he hands off Palmer to Kuze, and he like walks away, and he's like, "I've really grown as a person today," and like,
I'm no longer a dumbass. Thank God everything's done, and there's nothing more to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Credits start rolling.
And then, then he gets a call from, there's a keep out, and he gets a call from Tateno, and Tateno is saying, on Tateno's end, they figured out that the call activates the bomb. I guess what happens over at Tateno's route, like Stanley shows up and he's like, the call, Stanley figures it out, and somehow this information gets to Kano and Achi, or I guess Achi hears from Stanley that Alphard is fake, and then Tateno talks to Kano and is like, you need to get Hitomi to safety, and so they're both like getting those calls at the same time. And so then Kano says to Achi, like, look for a bomb. Where's the bomb? There must be a bomb around here. And he gives Achi Leland Palmer's like attaché case that he was carrying around and says, like, look in here. And Achi looks in the case while Kano is like frisking Palmer, trying to see if the bomb is on his person. And Achi opens like a false bottom in the case, and it's full of C4.
Dun dun dun.
I'm not sure, like, I didn't bother to look it up, but I assume that could cause a big explosion, because it looks like a lot.
Yeah, it does look like a lot. A lot of Play-Doh.
I mean, is that stuff light or heavy? Because I don't know. I'm having some trouble believing that he didn't know.
Well, I mean, Big Boss, when he built Butterfly...
I mean, I have always assumed it was a little heavy, but I don't know. They call it plastic, and not to sound stupid, but they call it plastic explosive because I'm assuming it's like relatively light, but like kind of durable and moldy, right? You know? Not the whole point of it.
I'm just saying, they made a big deal to say that this much C4 could destroy like an entire city block, and there was no point in even trying to evacuate at this point.
So, you know what's weird? There's a note about C4, you know, you can click on. And it says, like, the active ingredient is RDX, which is trimethylene. And that was the point when I was like, I don't need to memorize this. So then but now look, fucking RDX and trimethylene are there. But
none of us have a degree from bomb college. Okay.
No, okay.
Yeah, well, we all flunked.
But when you select trimethylene, it hops you over and jumps the path onto Hitomi's route.
Mr. Sawyer, if you want to pass this bomb class, what's RDX immediately? Trimethylene? I don't remember, Professor.
So they find the bomb and there's a microphone on it, and the least believable part of this entire sequence is that Achi figures out that it's the ringtone that sets off the bomb.
I mean, well, there's a lot more less believable stuff. No, actually, that is. That's
no,
my
Kano didn't figure it out. Hitomi didn't figure it out. Are you Achi? It's big brain.
That's fair. Yeah, all right.
So we had a moment of temporary intelligence.
Yeah.
I also like their showing of this briefcase because you can see it's just a huge, box of Play-Doh with some wires sticking into it. And like, oh no, how do we defuse this? And I will also admit I have not gone to bomb college, but I think I know which wires to snip.
If there are any bomb experts out there, please let us know.
Yeah, there's like one wire. I mean, I was thinking about this too, right? Because there's like all those like movie things like trap wires and things like can you imagine how hard it is to like make a bomb? Like imagine you're making a test bomb, right? And you put a timer on it and the timer goes to 0 but it doesn't explode. You can never touch that bomb again. Like you're screwed. Because you'll never well shit, like what happened? Did it just not work or did I fuck up by a minute?
You gotta just throw something at it from really far away to set it off.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure Bomb University tells you how, but
Yeah.
I just Googled this, and apparently 8 to 10 pounds of C4 could to take out one 8-inch square steel beam. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot.
Well, I'm glad you got on an FBI watch list for Visual Novel Book Club, Jim.
That's true.
So, the bomb. So Achi holds on to the bomb because he hurt his leg earlier. When he got kicked by Kiryu from Yakuza, and he in order to obscure that fact that his leg is hurt, but it's not broken because he's fine later. But he's like, no, I'm gonna stay here and like block the bomb with my body, which will do anything. And everybody else run away. And Kana's like, no, you can't run away. You know, we're not going to. So Kana was like, I have to think of another plan. And what can they do to stop the bomb? And he's like, oh, if only I could cool down the bomb, then it wouldn't go off, because that's how this type of bomb works. But how could I possibly find a large amount of very cold material at this time and get it over here? Slow beef?
So a van comes up, and it turns out it's that, what is it, Falling Angels? I forgot. That group?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the theater group.
The theater group with their dry ice machine, and they're all not high. It's oxygen deprivation from the dry ice, but it basically like pulls up and stops, and he sees all the smoke coming out of it, and he's like, oh, dry ice, and that machine's just spewing it out. Maybe this will freeze the bomb. And they get a note that like the reason freezing the bomb, which you see in like a lot of media nowadays, I find, is that it turns like the battery off, or the battery doesn't work on the detonator, which if you say so. And usually you need liquid nitrogen, and dry ice is not as cold as liquid nitrogen, but maybe. Now the problem is they've got like 2 minutes to go, and they show the timer every so often, or they'll type it out in text, and Kana's like, I need this dry ice machine, like I'm commandeering it. And these guys are like, you know, well, look, we paid for this thing. Like, we can't just let you take it. And who shows up but fucking Minorikawa, baby? And in this, the most heroic moment of the game, does his signature point and says, hey, that dry ice machine's broken. Finally got to tell you. So, you know, you'll get a refund. Don't worry. So they're like, oh, okay. I mean, and Kana takes it.
He's also the reason they're there in the first place, because he didn't tell them earlier.
Yes, it's beautiful. His big moment to save the day was, hey, that dry ice machine's broken. I friggin' love this guy. Anyway, so Kana somehow gets this dry ice machine off the truck and is running with it. It's got wheels, to be fair, but it's like under 2 minutes, which is like, yee. And then with like about who knows, like a few seconds on the clock, he's like, Achi, like, throw the bomb in here. We're gonna like freeze it. They do it. The timer goes down to like 5, 4, 3, 2.
To be continued.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, at the lab,
Mm-hmm.
Tateo and Alphard are in this standoff where they're pointing guns at each other, and Alphard continues to like taunt him as well, and she's like, you can't shoot me because you're still hung up over that time you accidentally killed your friend's wife. And the way that she says it is just like, it was so fun, because of course she was there listening to them when he was telling his whole sob story to Kana on the roof, because she kicked him in the face after that.
Mm-hmm.
And they let's see, then it's, you know, tells her not to call on the phone, and yeah, she's like, you let your friend's wife die, and he's like, basically that he basically can't, he tries to force himself to shoot her, and there's like a neat little like cinematic effect of like him forcing himself to fire the gun, but he misses.
Can I just point out, like, we've been, like, this whole time, this guy's been trying to kill somebody, and now it's like, you can't kill anybody. Shit, she's right. Like, really?
I know, right?
Serious? What a jackass!
I can only kill someone when my friend asks me to.
But
there's so many bad endings where Tateo shoots you.
I know, and then it's like, what did he forget? Like,
yeah.
Just like, oh my god, my trauma, right? Like,
now it's back.
Oh, I can't believe you reminded me of that. What a jerk.
It comes and goes.
My weakness.
Thanks a lot, Alphard. Thanks for opening a wound.
My one weakness. Being reminded of the past. So Tateo needs to solve for time, so he has a flashback about...
has a flashback about it.
About Achi's mom, Kotone. And this is how I wrote the summary of it in my notes. Kotone, I can't make you happy, so you have to be with someone else. Because I love you, I'm too damaged.
Yes, I rely on your love too much. I must break up with you.
But he made this decision when he was like 16, and he like still stands by it.
Jesus Christ. Dick dictum number 69. Don't ever go back on a love promise.
But then he has another flashback to Kano, and like Kano having faith in him, and then he's which is able to like he's able to bravely stall for time until Stanley arrives, and then finally Stanley arrives.
Yeah, well, because he remembers that the dick dictums were the friends we made along the way.
Exactly. So let's see. So then when Stanley arrives, Stanley like also on the way to the lab like has another deduction psyche taxi where he understands that like the goal of Leland Palmer is as the decoy is to eliminate both the decoy and Hitomi in one go with the explosion. And he calls Achi and tells where we just saw and tells him about the thing. So he arrives on the scene, and I just wrote his emotions are not in check.
He pulls out his Desert Eagle.
Yeah, right. He gets the big boy gun, the cool guy gun.
I'm gonna shoot you like with the big bullet, so you'll really, really die.
So I can't miss because the bullet's so big. And so Alphard was responsible for the bomb that killed his brother, and there's like a choice whether you get the good ending or the bad ending, whether you choose to basically whether you choose to kill her or not. He.
Yeah, you don't kill her either way.
Yeah, but like whether you want to or not, I guess. I don't know. I mean, either way, like, I don't know.
For gun people, do you think like buying a Desert Eagle is like going to a convenience store and like, I'll have the extra large condoms? You know what I mean? Where like gun people are even like,
right.
come on.
This is America, so yeah, that's exactly how it works.
Got it. Okay, got it.
Just as quick, too.
Yeah, you just pop in. Put it in your cart and wheel it to the front of the store. So he struggles. Jack Stanley struggles with what his brother Frank Stanley would think of his actions. He faces off with Canaan, and there's when Tateno stalls for time, and he shows up, and it's like, and he says, "Oh, we meet at last, Alphard." And then that's the end. It goes to the epilogue.
Alphard, and she's like, "Don't call me that." But yeah.
So all the stories have converged. That is all that's all the information we have, and then we get the epilogue, which is not really the epilogue.
Point, yeah.
It's the ending.
It's the final chapter. I don't know how to call it an epilogue.
And there is an epilogue after the credits, too.
Yeah.
Minoru Kawa has no longer any role in the story, so it is truly an epilogue. This was his tale all along. So the ending starts with Maria regaining consciousness in the lab somewhere with her father holding her hand. And Osawa finally gets a chance to apologize for that day back when she was a kid where she ran away.
She doesn't remember.
No, it's so good.
Fuck you, Kenji Osawa.
It really is it's the most like you could diss him.
Yeah, it's just something that happened to me when I was a kid. It didn't affect me.
She's also like, a lot of shit happened when I was a kid. I don't fucking remember all of it.
That was honestly one of your better days.
Yeah, that's kind of her whole attitude about it. Oh my god.
How about the day you
so
killed
funny.
my dog? Remember that, Dad? Like, oh yeah. Oh shit, I'm sorry.
She's basically like, Dad, if I had to relive all the shit you did to me when I was a kid, do you realize how fucking awful a person I would be? I'd almost be you. So no, I forgot all that.
Dad, do you remember that time you left me dangling off the edge of a building because you had to charge your phone battery?
Oh god. So
man.
So they're there. I don't know if that it makes him feel better, which is really what's important, right?
I saved you from the virus I made, so therefore, you know.
He just starts crying for like, he doesn't really get into like any emotional confessions. He's like, I'm sorry I hate you that one time. And she's like, okay. And then he starts crying and she says like, okay, I got stuff to do. Let's go.
So she turns on the monitors in the room that they're in, and I guess they're in like a security room or something. And on through the monitors, we can see Tateo, Stanley, and Alphard facing off in the parking lot. And Maria sees the fake Canaan, and she confirms for us. She's like, "Oh no, that's Canaan's friend." She said she was Canaan's friend. Friend.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then there's a flashback to Alphard telling Maria to switch places using a false recording of Canaan that basically set up the premise for the whole game. So she tricked Maria. So she also had Maria switch places. Like that was part of the plan.
Perfectly imperfect.
And Maria realizes that the amulet GPS that she got from fake Canaan must be related to this somehow, and she's like, "Oh, this must be the bomb?" Realizing that the necklace is the bomb and not a GPS, she also from the video of Canaan, she's like, "Oh, if Canaan was coerced into recording that video, then Canaan must be dead now." And so, full of determination, she marches up into the parking lot with the necklace and threatens Alphard. And she's like, I'll blow you up too.
Yep. She's like, you won't trigger it because you don't want to die either. And
she doesn't. After Stanley and Tateo failing to get her to drop her gun, Maria, the unforeseen circumstances of Maria with the figuring out that her necklace is a bomb and being mad that Canaan is dead, Alphard throws her gun to the ground and Stanley arrests her. So Stanley didn't shoot her, Tateo didn't shoot her, but then Maria picks up the gun off the ground.
I really did not see this coming.
And then we have a choice.
Oh, we don't.
Do you shoot?
No, there's no choice in the
there's no choice.
first unless you do it the right
The
way.
first time.
Yeah.
First time there's no choice. So what happens? Who wants to tell what happens?
So she finally is like, I need to honor the memory of my friend, and my friend had been fighting since she was a child, and she would, this was the foundation of her life, was this violence, and I have to be true to myself and my friend, and I'm going to shoot you. And she fucking misses.
And then Osawa goes, "Wait, you had a friend?" And it's like, later, Dad, forget it. Anyway, sorry.
So she like shatters a window and completely misses, which gives like Alphard the chance to dive and I guess get another gun and goes to shoot Maria, but Osawa jumps in front of her and takes the bullet for Maria instead, and crumples to the ground. And his noble sacrifice is finally, he's got his hero moment.
And he says, "I finally understand what a virus must feel like."
Yes.
I forgot. That's right.
His key moment, which he never gets to explain, he says, "I finally understand what a virus must feel like." And then she's like, I have to tell you and your sister. And Maria's like, "You'll tell us when we're together because Satomi's not here." "No, but I have to tell you and your sister right now."
Dad, you really don't need to. Save it for later.
Yeah, she's basically like, I don't care. But no, she's like, "No, you're going to be fine. We're going to get through this." And Tateo's trying to call the ambulance and stuff and being like, you got to get the ambulance down here. And like, it's slowly slipping away from Osawa. And so they still capture Canaan. She's still arrested. Like, I guess Stanley grabs her and slams her head down into the concrete. So she's not a threat. And of course, because it just as the ambulance isn't coming fast enough, so they get on, but slowly Osawa's drifting off, trying to tell Maria, but never actually has anything to say to her, and he dies.
I think maybe he means like, I know what a virus feels like. A non-living piece of protein dies. Boom. That's right. I did go to virus school.
So this was the best ending. There's another inferior ending that we can unlock.
Wait, it's not done yet. The first ending isn't done yet.
It's not done yet.
Oh yeah,
but
we still so there's a so do we want to go so if we on the back in the square everything is basically resolved. So like the bomb doesn't go off. So there's this post after you get the end scene where Osawa dies. The whole crew celebrates Achi and they toss him in the air. And Kano is just like, I don't need the adulation. I'm fine. I know once I call my the girlfriend, she's just gonna say you did a good job and everything will be fine. So you just get kind of a basic ending there, and then the credits roll, and post credits you get a scene.
Yeah,
before the credits, yeah.
Inspector Gordon shows up.
Gordon shows up and picks up Canaan and is like, we'll take her into custody now. Good job, everybody. And Tatsuno's
totally
like, you guys will take her in custody? Okay, whatever. I'm not going to force the issue. And Jack's like, yeah, my boss has it. It's fine. And so post-credit, you see them in the car, and guess who Alphard's been working for the whole time? The CIA.
No, I think the CIA is working for Alphard. I think that's what implies.
Oh, was that it? I thought it was this.
I thought it was the other way around.
No, I think Gordon was working for Alphard, not the other way around.
No, wait. No, they said no. Wait, Gordon says something like, you always do good work or something.
I think it's a mutual thing. I don't think it's like one is above the other.
Either way, these two people are the bad guys. And their plan has worked because Alphard did in fact get Maria's blood. So she doesn't have. The full plan wasn't put in effect where she blew up the lab and would have complete monopoly, but she does secretly have a very valuable antiviral, which she got from Hitomi after the car explosion when Hitomi was knocked out and she extracted her blood then.
Yeah, and I actually, when I played this, I thought about this before they said it. That she had a perfect opportunity to get the blood.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it just like renders the whole thing obsolete. Like it was like, oh, like she had it ever since the explosion.
It's anticlimactic, yeah.
I thought she didn't want the blood though because she already had the UA virus, and the whole point was to destroy the antiviral.
Yeah, but this way she has both, and she can sell to both places. She can sell the weapon and she can sell the cure, and she's the only one who has the cure.
No, there's still the cure at the lab.
Well, that's why she wanted to blow it up.
She's one of two people now.
Yeah.
Right.
If the lab exploded, would put her in a better position, but she still can sell it. And people who still want it.
And she just won't, right. As long as it's not publicized, it's still very valuable because there's very few people who have it.
So her secondary goal, she failed at her secondary goal.
And that's it. So basically everything else is kind of pointless except no one else died except for Osawa, which wasn't a loss at all. So it's a pretty good ending all told. We
got a little bit about like a phone, someone calling Hitomi's phone, but we don't get any resolution for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Maria's phone. Yeah. Because Maria is so distraught because her father just got shot that she doesn't answer the phone. And Jack just sees it and is like, oh, I'm supposed to give this back to Maria. And then he doesn't.
Also in this ending, it like ends basically with Alphard like looking out into the night sky and reflecting on how Maria and Canaan's friendship would not be consumed by darkness, and that's why she lost, sort of, this time. The end.
No moral.
No moral. So that gets you the white tag bonus content, which is
weird.
It's about Suzune and Achi.
Yeah, with your trader for it.
Yeah.
Heartbeat of Spring.
It's very confusing because we haven't been collecting any bookmarks of any color whatsoever in this entire game, and they're like, "You got white bookmark." Sorry. Like, okay, well, I guess. Thanks.
Yeah. So let's talk about the black bookmark.
Yes. So there's 3 decisions throughout the game, and I think like one of them you actually even have to make for it to get to the bad ending anyway, to get to the endings.
No, you don't have to get any of them for the bad ending. They're all like optional.
They're like morality questions.
Yeah. All right. So, and it's basically like, do I want to like murder somebody to get vengeance, or do I want to let go and do the right thing? And you have to do that for Jack, Tateno, and Kano, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
It really is, though, basically like kind of like a morality thing of like, yeah, like, should I want to kill Alphard or whoever, or should I want to do the right thing? Whatever. So when you pick the right thing for all three of them, this time Maria doesn't pick up. Wait, did she pick up the gun? Oh yeah, she does pick up the gun, but now
She does, but you got a choice.
now she has a choice of, do I want to kill Alphard or not? Alphard, whatever.
Alfred.
Alphard. What's wrong with Alphard? Yeah, so we
Why did you fall,
don't.
Mr. Tateno.
Right, we don't, I guess. And then, we don't. So guess what happens? Boom. No, this time Osawa doesn't get shot, and Alphard's taken into custody again.
So Osawa lives. Bad
Osawa
ending.
lives. But we do get the phone call this time, right? So I forgot though what that was.
It's Canaan.
Oh, that's
dead.
right, the real Canaan.
And she says, Maria, I'm alive.
Yay.
Says, come watch me in the anime sequel to 428, Shibuya Scramble.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it unlocks the greatest sequence of all, which is a live action sequence.
We also got a little extended thing with Kano calling his fiancée.
Yeah, he calls Rumi. And
that's right.
Shizuo answers the phone, and he's like, well, you finish the paperwork first before you come rushing over here, and then we'll talk about you marrying my daughter. And he's like, yeah.
He was like, but what? Yeah.
It really is like the jumping fist in the air.
Well, first he's like, marry, and then it's like, whippy.
And also Achi heads off to see Suzune. I don't remember if this is in both or not. And his leg, which appeared broken before, was totally fine now.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he has this thing, like, the weird thing is, too, like, at the end, there's no, like, that's not weird, it's actually probably appropriate. There's no emotional resolution for Achi and Hitomi. It's just, she's like, hey, we have some more things to talk, but we definitely have to reconnect. And he's like, you can find me in Shibuya, I ain't even giving you my number. I have to go see my sister.
Like, no, you idiot. Like, that's not how this works. This city's huge. You've lived here forever, Achi. You
what
must
a
know
dumbass.
that. No wonder I don't have any friends. I keep telling them to just come to Shibuya.
I love it. I love that they fell in love and then nothing happens. Great. Good game. Yeah. Big fan.
He's like, the next time you throw a piece of garbage away in Shibuya, I'll be there.
I don't know. Is he like, look, Hitomi, I've been through a lot today. I got a lot to process. My dad's going to go to jail.
I don't think anyone is going to jail, by the way. I think they're going to hide the entire thing, and no one is going to jail for this.
They should all be in jail.
Not Minorikawa.
Remember the end of Speed when Sandra Bullock is like, relationships formed under duress almost never work out. It's almost like Achi was like, you're absolutely right. I'll see you later.
I just like to think it was his own ignorance and stupidity that he lost out on, like, the Dome, where it's just like, I don't need a phone number. We'll just meet in Shibuya. How hard could it be? And then they never saw each other again.
Well, she knows where he lives.
Yeah.
That's true.
But anyway, so after all that happens, which is fun, we get a live action, like just a shot sequence, which is clearly shot. So you end up, it's Canaan and Gordon end up going in with like Gordon's thugs into what is clearly an office building after hours. It's just been, they're just walking through, like it's not even, they're made no effort. It doesn't even look like any sort of government building. And they're just walking through, and then suddenly Canaan stops. And the other guys don't notice for some reason, even though they're highly paid government agents. And they keep walking, and she's like, pulls a gun off, but there's no one there. And then behind her is a person we will never actually see except for a blonde anime wig.
Right.
And they have a gun too. It's clearly Canaan. And they both draw on each other. And then cut to black, shots fire, bang, bang, and then credits.
So now they're both dead.
Yeah.
Or they both missed. They're both terrible shots.
They both yelled McClunky.
Well, they are both in the sequel, so...
Yeah. So that's
so they did both miss.
That's the black bookmark ending. And we get a little ad for the Canaan anime and for the bonus Canaan content.
So Can I just point out I accidentally did I didn't do it. Like the timeline, there's like a new place you can go, and I forget who the two characters are. I want to say Maria, right? And it looks like
Suzune.
Maria. Oh, Suzune
and Canaan.
That's it. You're right. Because the Canaan is anime. With like the photorealistic people, and it's like, the people, and it's like it totally looks. It looks like Mugen, basically. Like it just doesn't work.
Oh my god! Ooh, delicious! Injected directly into my veins. I did not realize that. I thought the whole thing was anime. The whole thing was going to be drawn, but it's not. It's just her.
No, it's drawn. It's completely drawn.
It's all drawn. It's not like her superimposed into some real life photos of real people.
No, it's also voice acted. The only thing in the game that's voice acted is the Canaan story.
Oh, wow. What is this anime? It seems bad. But this is so much effort. We're gonna have to watch it.
No, the extra story is not actual anime. The extra story in the game is drawn.
Oh yeah, I mean outside the Canaan anime, like what is it? We have to watch it. The Canaan anime.
Yeah, I have to watch it. And there is a third short story after you finish those two. So
I like how you said I have to watch it, like you and you alone, like Achi with the bomb.
He's cursed. So that's what we'll be reading next time. Those bonus bits.
Mm-hmm.
And for those following along, and now let's talk about our impressions of the game and the story.
Wonderful.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was fun. Like it was goofy. Like it was just goofy enough and just intriguing enough to make it so that I wanted to know what happened.
It was the perfect thing to follow Fata Morgana.
Oh yeah, very light, just very goofball.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of heavy thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
I enjoyed it overall. I thought it was the right amount of goofy, like you said. I gotta be honest with you, that was kind of a shitty ending.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of it's fine, but it's kind of a nothing ending. Like it really, like you think it was gonna go some places, and it's just no. We're just
the low points for 428 were definitely the parts where it tried to be serious.
And it leaned so heavily on the Canaan anime, like pulling in characters from that and like things from that, and yeah, I don't know. The reveal that the 14-year-old girl was Alphard is, I still don't like that. That's bananas.
I was okay with it just because I was surprised. I was really betting on it being Jack, truthfully, but I mean, it's not great no matter. Like, there's no way to slice it anyway. Even like Canaan being like a 14-year-old, like who's like killed all these people and fought the terrorists and stuff. It's like, probably not. Like it's just, I don't know.
I feel like the story is the least important thing in this game. It's more about all the characters, and especially the minor characters like Yanagishita or Miku. They're really great.
Yeah.
I think overall that's definitely what defines this for me. Because like the ending I wasn't crazy about, but I think overall it was characters, those wacky scenes, the fact that they capture so much awesome like acting work and just still frames that was the highlight.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And things keep happening in it. There's no like nothing is slow.
Right, that's true. It's very fast.
Usually in visual novels you get like these real stretches of time where nothing happens. And they just repeat the same thing over and over again. That doesn't happen here.
Yeah. So it's fun. It was an enjoyable experience for sure. Even like ultimately, I think like the movie version of this is like a B tier action movie, especially because of the like kind of middling ending, but very endearing and fun to play.
Probably like another parallel with 24, although I never saw the movie, but
it would almost feel like a Michael Bay movie though. Like just with much more comedy in this one, but like it's very much like a Bad Boys or kind of thing.
I was kind of reading a thing where I don't know if this is true or not, or just someone's interpretation, but they were saying that like each arc was almost like a different genre movie. Like Kano's is a detective, and Osawa's is a like psychological thriller in a way.
They were staged and shot differently.
Yeah.
Like the Osawa stuff is all like straightforward and very mood and atmospheric. And the Kano is more like action.
And I think that's really cool. I don't think it works well with the mechanic of jumping back and forth because you're basically just swapping genres. And I don't think it blends too seamlessly. Like, I like each story individually, but when I have to basically go from serious to funny and back to serious without any sort of buffer ground, it feels awkward.
And that was an even bigger problem in the prequel to this game, in Machi, which was pretty much the exact same mechanics, but the 5 stories in it, they intersected with each other, but they had nothing to do with it. There was no like one big story. It was 5 different stories, completely different stories, in different genres. One was a comedy, one was completely not a comedy, but you had to play them in pieces, and that was a big criticism against it. At least here they pulled it all together into a single story.
Yeah.
But it's still a problem.
Yeah. I really like the mechanics of like jumping between the stories, but yeah, if they tried to, I don't know, even if they just made it blend a little bit better or stick to a couple less genres, I would have enjoyed it a lot more, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of the reason why Osawa's Route is so bad, because it really sticks out. Because it doesn't fit at all with the others. Mm-hmm. Even like the lighting is completely different. Like it's a, you know, it feels boring because you're going from big action sequence or over the top comedy to like, oh yeah, here's a guy sitting on a couch with one key light on him. It's like, okay.
Playing Osawa's Route felt like a chore.
I mean, it did. I think Kajiwara, like we made this joke a lot that Kajiwara was doing all the heavy lifting for it, which he was. And, you know, I mean, it is what it is, I guess, right? Like, you know.
But I did really like a lot of the camera shots and like the framing of a lot of the visuals in Osawa's Route.
Yeah, like it was shot well, and if we were looking to play a game that was like that, then that would be good. But just that route just stood out, and it didn't blend very well.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the execution of this game is the most appealing part of it. Like the fact that it was executed with photos and like how like we said before, like how well acted it is despite being photos. It's great. It really pulls you in. It's really cool that they did that, and I really like the whole visual style of it, like that whole technique of like we're gonna do this live action with photos. It seems like it could very easily seem like you're just being lazy, and in fact it was totally the opposite. It was very effective, and I would love to play more games with that sort of artistic style of photographs.
Yeah
I agree. I think it's really effective, especially considering how good some of the acting was. That like you could see, like especially if you're jumping from stuff like Achi's Route, which is all like action based, and they're still able to capture his character. The actor for Achi is like underrated in fact that he can make things look like he's about to get in a fight and doesn't understand why all in one shot.
Yeah.
And then you'll like immediately jump over to like, the Maria's Route when she's Tana, and it's just pure slapstick comedy the whole way through, but it's also extremely well done.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you've been listening along and you're like, should I pick up this game? Well, I mean, what have you done? You know the whole story, so I don't know what to tell you, but I think it was a fun game. That's not how book clubs work. Yeah, I would recommend it to people who have like tell your friends if they're like, oh, should I play this game? I would say yeah, for sure. You pick it up when it's on sale. It's a fun time, puts you in a good mood.
Mm-hmm. All good stuff.
So next time we're gonna look at the post-game content, and will we change our opinions? Well, you'll see.
No,
way to hook
I haven't seen anything, but no. Sorry. Minoru Kawa still owns. That's the end of it. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, good. All right. Yanagishi is close second. All right. All right, folks.
And Kajiwara.
Kajiwara is a good third.
Give them their own game.
Yeah.
I'm down.
For sure.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Later, everybody.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Mark unlocked.